I'm over here on the tripod. And I just wanted to show you something I put together designed to basically eliminate the need to carry jumper cables. Now like most four-wheel drives, I've got two batteries. I've got the main battery, which is for the car itself, for starting the engine and the accessories, and then I've got the second battery, which is for everything else. Now we've got an isolator switch under the bonnet here, Pirano one, and once again, most dual battery setups have an isolator switch, and the idea of the isolator switch is to make sure that the two batteries are isolated from each other so that you can't flatten the main battery while running your fridge or charging your iPads or whatever you're going to do when the car's not running. And that works very effectively. And basically what happens, as soon as you start the car, you're using your main starter battery, the isolator switch sends all the alternator current to the main battery and recharges it, which doesn't take very long. As soon as that's done, it switches over and then recharges the second battery, the deep cycle battery. And but the two are never connected together. So if I get a flat, let's say I get a flat battery, my main starter battery goes flat just because I left the interior light on or something like that. But, the deep cycle battery is not on the same circuit. So I haven't got any way of actually connecting it together to use it to help start the car. Now I understand that some systems these days actually do have the ability to do that, but ours is 10, 12 years old, and it doesn't work that way. So what I would do is just carry a single jumper cable. Obviously both batteries are earthed, so I only need to connect the two positive terminals together, and I can jump start the car off the deep cycle battery. Now, I know deep cycle batteries are not made for starting cars, not the one I've got anyway. But frankly, if the main battery is only a little bit flat, then a bit of a kick from the deep cycle, frankly, to me is worth it to be able to get the thing started. However, I'm all about trying to reduce weight. I'm all about trying to reduce the amount of things I need to carry around. So I had this idea to build in the jumper cable, basically, build it in permanently under the bonnet and put a switch so that I could just pop the bonnet, flick the switch, and immediately connect the two batteries. So that's what I did, and it works beautifully. Now, as it turns out, my main starter battery is getting a bit old. It's about 4.5 years old now, and it's starting to get near end of life. And I've noticed over the last winter, over the last few months, that it's a bit sluggish in the morning, especially if I don't start the car for a couple of days. It's a bit and it's on the way out. They don't last forever. They're basically consumable. So I installed my new my built-in jumper cable system, and I'll show you how it works in a sec. And I left my car at the airport for a week. I came back to the long-term car park, jumped in the car, and went. It was dead. So, okay, all right, I'm going to get to test my my system now. Jumped out, flicked the switch, bang, she started first go. So I was very happy to see that it actually worked. But anyway, let me show you how it works. This blue cable here is just a battery cable, pre-lugged battery cable I picked up from Super Cheap Auto. I've got one longer cable and one shorter one going around there. Connecting the two positive terminals. And this switch, I just bought this off eBay. This bracket that it's mounted on, I just made that. I just found a bit of scrap metal and bent it into shape and drilled some holes through it and attached it. And I just wanted to get this somewhere where it was easy to get to, but it's also out of the way. By default, it's set to off. So right at the moment, and all the time, it's off. So this cable is not connected at the moment. But if I just turn that to 1, I've now turned it on, and now this battery and this battery are connected. Exactly the same as if I put a jumper cable between the two batteries. I've just basically connected them together on the positive terminals. They're both earthed on the negative terminals, so you don't need the negative jumper cable. And bang, suddenly you've got two batteries doing the job instead of one. So then as soon as the car starts, I just flick it back to off, disconnect him again, and the system's back to normal. So one of the advantages of using these pre-made battery cables instead of a jumper cable is you get a very definite connection between the two batteries. You've got an absolutely solid connection on each end, and solid connection in the switch. Massive brass fittings inside there. A couple of times when I've had to jump start the car off the two batteries in the past, I could never really get a good solid connection with the clamp on the jumper cable. And whereas this way, because they're actually hardwired to the batteries, there's no loss of voltage based on that connection. So the whole system was roughly $70 something. I'll look it up and actually put the exact figure on the screen here, how much it was, but it wasn't a fortune. And now it's permanently wired in, and at the flick of a switch, I've got 2 batteries to start the car. Simple as that. Alright guys, well it's about 2 months after I filmed the first part of this video, and the main battery now is completely dead. I haven't used the car for a couple of weeks and now it's just completely cactus. So I thought, well, I'll use that opportunity to show exactly how the jumper cable system works, because this is exactly the scenario where you'd be using it. So imagine you're out in the bush, you've been, you've parked up overnight in your camp, and for whatever reason you've left something on. It's completely flattened your main battery, but you've got some charge in your deep cycle battery there. Even though it's not designed for starting the car, it will still start the car if you need to, if it comes to it. And this is the perfect example. So here we go. Let's see, it's completely dead. There's nothing. Pop the bonnet. So this one is now completely toasted, but this is a fairly new battery. It's green in there, which means it's got some charge. So we do, flick our switch over onto the one. And we're back in business. Now all I do is just click the switch back and system's back to normal. It's now trying to charge the main battery, but it's not going to get anywhere. That battery is toasted. Fortunately, I went out and bought a new one yesterday, and we can put that in now, and then we're back to normal again. Alright guys, well, it works, which is good. So I've now got 2 new batteries. This one I've just replaced, and the deep cycle, which I replaced just before we went to Lake Argyle in July. So we should be good for batteries for at least a couple more years, 3-4 years I would think. And we've got a built-in jumper cable, which we won't need day to day of course, but we've got that in case I happen to accidentally flatten the main battery. Doesn't happen often, but it's happened once or twice, so at least I'm covered now. So there you go guys, that's the end of this one. If you love that, subscribe, like, and let me know down in the comments below if you think I've done something wrong or you've got any better ideas. Cheers guys.